Welcome to the Project Printouts video. I know it's a very exciting time for everyone. I'm going to show you how to generate the project printouts that you need this semester. Now, you guys are when you're first in here, I'm sure you're worried about Project 1, but I'm going to encourage you, strongly encourage you, to go ahead and generate the printouts for all 4 projects at one time. I'm in the application gateway like most of you are going to be using this semester. And while it generally works really, really well, sometimes there's glitches. And I'd rather have all the printouts done in a single session than have you come back 4 times and give yourself 4 times the opportunity for one of those glitches to mess you up. So with that, let me go and get a data set. Like I said, I'm in the application gateway. So I'm going to open a data set. And one of the things you're going to find is that when I'm opening a data set, or when I'm doing anything while I'm filming, my computer goes a little slow. So I may pause the video and then start it and so try to keep the lags to a minimum. All right, so I'm in the OneDrive, my USF OneDrive. I'm in the Documents folder, and that's where I have all my different data sets. I'm going to choose the apartment data, and I'm going to hit Open. And you can see it opens it up into my data set. And so it just looks like yours. There's 75 observations. There's rents or sizes or location. If you're working with the home data, you have prices, sizes, and locations. If you're working with the automobiles, it's a little different because you have mileages and prices and model. But I'll show you where to make the appropriate changes in the menus when we get there. So for project 1, let me get my little cheat sheet out here. There are, I think, 4 different printouts that are necessary. And the first printout you need are some shapes, some plots. I'm going to do a stem and leaf display and a histogram. In order to do that, I'm going to go to Statistics. I'm going to go for the stem and leaf display. I'm going to go to Summary Statistics and come down to Stem and Leaf Plot. And so I'm going to click on that, and it's going to bring up a little menu. And I'm asking for the sizes or the mileages. So because I'm working with the apartments, I'm going to choose size. If you're working with the automobiles, you can put mileages in here, and then I'm going to hit OK. And you're going to see that you get a stem and leaf display. Now you can see that it's kind of small on the screen. I'm going to zoom into it so you can see a little bit better. This would be a skewed left, because if you think about smaller values, they're going to be on the top of this picture, and they're going to be larger values to the bottom. You can see, and we've talked about how you read this stem and leaf plot. It's right there. The 3 and the 5 you see in the top, that first 5 there, that represents a size of 350 square feet. So I'm going to assess this and say my apartments are skewed to the left, or my apartment sizes are skewed to the left. You need to copy and paste this, or use a snipping tool, or do whatever you do in the Mac world that you live in, or take pictures with your phone. This needs to go from here into a document that you can then call into your projects. So figure out a system that works for you there, but that's a stem and leaf plot. The second plot I'm going to create, I'm going to go back to the data. I'm going to do a histogram, and the way I do that is go to Statistics, go to Summary Plots, go to Histogram. And again, you have to tell it what variable you want. I want the size. Home data sets would use the size as well. The automobiles would use the mileages, and then just click OK. And you can see I get a pretty good sized skewed left distribution here as well. Now, again, snip, I can copy and paste I work on a laptop that's a PC. I can copy and paste directly from the application gateway into my Word document. If you want to save this file, click on Save. You can store it in the documents of your OneDrive. You can call it something. You can see I have a whole bunch of different things. I have a histogram here saved from a prior demonstration. And then you can download it from your OneDrive into your Word document as well. I'm not going to do that here, but that's the histogram. So that's the second plot. The third information, or third printout you need, I guess, is descriptive statistics. So let me go to Statistics. Let me go to Summary Statistics, and then Descriptive Statistics. And I'm asking for the price variable. So I call it rent here. If you're working with apartments or homes, maybe you call it the price. I don't know what other value you were asking price. I don't know what you call it. But the boxes I need to check, I need the sample size, which is N. I need the mean and the median. Okay, the mean's going to be checked. The median needs to get checked. The standard deviation, the min-max, and the quartile. So the first time you're in here, you probably have all those other boxes checked. You probably just need to check the median and the quartiles, and then click OK. and you're going to get a printout that looks like this. Again, transfer that over into project 1 and then answer the questions. And I think this semester I asked you about the mean, the standard deviation, create some z-scores, and make some interpretations. And that's all the information you need there. And then the last printout you need for project 1, let's go back to the data set, is I need a box plot. And so again, this is a plot, so I'll go to statistics, I'll go to summary plots, and then I'm going to work my way down. It's called a box and whisker plot in statistics. Click on that. We get our little menu, and I'm going back to the sizes and the mileages here. So I'm going to use size. If you're working with automobiles, you would use mileages. And this is not the plot you want. This just gives you a single box plot, and I want 3 separate box plots. So I'm going to go to this little menu here, this icon here, and it takes you back to whatever menu you were just working with. It's a handy little icon to use. And I'm going to put in location as my categorical. And what that's telling the software is give me a different box plot for each of my 3 locations. Now, if you're working with the home data, you're going to use the same variable, size and location. If you're working with the automobiles, it'll be mileages, or mileage is probably what you called it, by model. And so that's how you would set up this menu. And I'm going to make one other choice. I'm going to click on horizontal. You don't have to do this, but that's going to rotate the box plots 90 degrees, and I like looking at them this way. Here are the sizes of my apartments. You're going to see the sizes of your homes or the mileages of your automobiles. And I might mention here, depending on the values that you get in statistics, you might see some scientific notation. So if your mileages, for instance, in this case are 100,000 miles, you might see 1 E5 or something like that. And that's going to be times 10 to the 5th power, times 10 to the 6th power. It's just a different way of writing scientific notation. It's fine, because really what we're going to do here is we're going to identify outliers. I have 3. The asterisks, as we've learned, represent suspect outliers. The O's, which I don't see any on my printout, represent outliers. So for location 1, I don't have any suspects or outliers. For location 2, I don't have any outliers. I don't have any suspect outliers. For location 3, I have 3 suspects and no outliers. And that's how I want you to interpret it. I want you to just tell me how many of each type. And so those are the printouts for project 1. Now, before you leave, create the printouts for the other projects as well. And I'll go through those a little bit more quickly now that you got a feel for the software. So congratulations on finishing project 1. Now let's talk about project 2. Project 2 is a pretty easy project to get printouts for because there's only a couple that you need. You need some descriptive statistics. So I'm going to go back to that menu that we were just in for project 1. So I'm going to go to summary statistics, back to descriptive statistics. And now you need your sizes or mileages. So I'm going to change variables on you here again. Put the sizes in here. And I'm going to go and ask for just the sample size, the standard deviation, and the mean. I'm going to take these guys out. So I'm going to remove those check marks, and I'm going to hit OK. And this is what you need for doing the normal work that I'm going to ask you to do this semester, because I'm going to have you use the mean and the standard deviation as if they're population means. So again, if you're working with automobiles, you would use mileages, but I'm using sizes here. The other printouts that you need for project 2 involve assessing the normality of the price variable. And so maybe, when you do this printout, I'm going to go here and I'm going to get a second one. I'm going to do it for prices. So take that out, and mine are called rents. Yours might be prices. And so if you're using the empirical analysis as a way of assessing normality, you would need the N, you would need the mean and the standard deviation. If you're using the IQR divided by S, you would also need the quartiles. And so for assessing the normality, you would want this printout. Okay, if you use either of those 2 techniques. The other 2 techniques we've talked about are stem and leaf plots, which you've seen me do before for project 1. So I'm going to come in here and I'll do a stem and leaf plot. Now you could do a histogram instead. I'm a stem and leaf plot fan. So now I'm going to use the prices. So I'll take the sizes out, which we used in project 1, and I'll put the rents in. All right, and I'll say OK. And so this would give me a way of assessing the shape. Look, my prices appear to be fairly symmetric. And then I'm going to do, or fairly normal, and then I'm going to do what's called a normal probability plot. That's the 4th technique that we looked at. And let's see, that's down here. in randomness normality tests. Man, my mouse moves slow. So a normal probability plot, and use your price variable. Mine's called rent. Yours might be called price. You're going to display this reference line here and then hit OK. And we've talked about the straighter this plot is, the more normal the data. It's pretty normal. Not going to lie, my rents appear to be fairly normal. And so I ask you to use two of these techniques to assess the normality of your price or rent variable. And that, my friends, that's it for project 2. So project 1 I took about 7.5 minutes. This one only took about 3 minutes. Congratulations on the printouts for project 2. Are you going to stop here? No, you're the smart student. You're the wise student. You're going to continue on to project 3. So let me get set up for that. Okay, I'm mentally prepped. Got the data set again. There are 3 printouts that you need. Actually, 4 printouts. I'm sorry, 4 printouts for project 3. And I'm going to do them kind of weird because of one of the things I need to do. First, I need a confidence interval. We're going to be talking about confidence intervals in project 3. And so the first printout I need goes back to summary statistics and descriptive statistics. And I'm going to create a confidence interval for the average price. So rent's there still, I need that there. All I need are the n, the sample size, and down here where it says confidence interval endpoints, I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to change the confidence interval percentage to 93, and I'm going to hit OK. And the first question I ask you on project 3, and oops, I had one extra box, so let me take that out. Let's go back to this, and I'll get rid of the quartiles because I don't need those. And this is what I need. And we'll be talking about how we interpret these things, but that's the printout you need. Okay, now the second printout you need, let me go back to the data, is a little tricky to get. The third to fourth one will be pretty straightforward, but the second one's a little tricky. I ask you to do a confidence interval for the proportion of values that exceed, or the proportion of prices or rents that exceed the first one. So my first rent is $15.34. You got to remember that, because here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to say data, and I'm going to say sort. I'm going to sort the cases. So wait for the little lag. There we go. And I'm going to sort by rent, and I'm going to do it in descending order, because what I'm asking you to do is to figure out, we're going to work with proportion that exceed the first price. So I'm going to look at how many of my 75 rents exceed, what was that number, 1534? So I'm going to come down here, and 1534 is my 8th stock. So only 7 of my 75 exceed that first price or that first rent that I had in my data set. So 7 of the 75, because that's the number you're going to write in your project for me. And then you're going to come here to statistics. Could have swore I clicked on that. Let's try it again. You're going to come down to hypothesis tests, 1 proportion. Oops. Okay, so follow this little path. And then you're going to say the sample size is 75, and now you're going to put in your number. Mine was 7. Yours might be 15. Yours might be 74. Who knows? How many of your stocks, or not stocks, excuse me, how many of your prices exceeded your first price? And then that's what I want. I want a 90%, so I'm going to change this to 90. And that's how we generate a confidence interval. Now, when I do that, it's going to say you can't do it because I need a null hypothesis value. And this is going to be something we cover as well. But just put in a value of 0.5 there and then hit OK. And the numbers that you need are these right here, this very first confidence interval, the simple asymptotic confidence interval. And we'll be talking about this and what we do with this. But those are the numbers that you need in Project 3. Okay, so that's the printouts for question, I think it's question 3 in the project. Now, the other 2 printouts that you need for this particular project, again, we're still in project 3, just work with model or location 3. So I have to get rid of model and location 1 and 2. So I'm going to go and I'm going to do this. I'm going to go to data, and I'm going to tell statistics to omit some cases. I'm going to say omit if location, did I spell that right? I think I did, is less than 3. Now, if you're working with the homes, that works as well. But if you're working with the automobiles, you're going to say omit if model is less than 3. Now, when I say go, watch what happens to the data over here on the left. When I say go, you're going to see all the 1s and 2s faded to gray. And that's what I need. And so I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to close this. And now I can generate the last 2 printouts. And the last 2 printouts are actually the one for question 2, where I'm going to go back and do another confidence interval. So I'm going to go to descriptive statistics. And I'm going to ask for a confidence interval, except this time I'm going to work with a different variable. I'm going to work with the sizes or the mileages. So I'm going to put the sizes back in. And I'm going to change the confidence level to 96. That's what I asked you for in project 3. Again, the N, the confidence interval endpoint. So I'm going to use size. If you're working with automobiles, you would be using mileage here. And it's going to give me the confidence interval for just those 25. Okay, just the 25 observations that are location 3. So when you're making interpretations here, you got to mention location 3. And again, don't tell me location 3. Tell me Brandon Apartments or Model 3. Tell me Chevy Camaros. Use the words of the problem. All right, one more printout for project 3, and it's a test hypothesis printout. So we're going to go to statistics, 1-2 multi-sample tests. We're going to go to a 1-sample t-test. That's the menu that we're going to go in, and we want to test to see about prices here. So you're going to choose your price variable. Rent is what I'm going to call it. You might have price or asking or whatever you've called it. And then depending which data set you're working with, we're going to go with the not equal to. You can leave the 95%. That doesn't matter for the test hypothesis. For the apartments, the null hypothesis value is going to be 1,200. For the automobiles, it's going to be 12,000. And for the homes, it's going to be 350,000. Notice I'm not putting any commas in here. Commas are going to mess you up. And I'm going to hit OK. And this is the test hypothesis printout I want. And so there you have the printouts for project 3. Congratulations. You have now done 3 of the 4. There is 1 left. And actually, the 4th project is a pretty easy project again. So let me go and get set up. I'm going to change the data a little bit, and then we'll come back. Actually, you know what? I'm not. I'm just going to go there, because here's what we're going to need for project 4. You see, I only have location or model 3, so I could do a couple things. One is I could go and get rid of this data set and go and enter it or open it up again. Okay. Or what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to data, and I'm going to go back to omit select cases. And I'm going to click on where it says restore, and all the data is going to come back. Now, what we're going to find is that in project 4, I'm only wanting to work with locations 1 and 2, or models 1 and 2. So now I'm going to change this statement. I'm going to omit location 3, and I'm going to hit go. And you can see all the 3s go to gray. So I'm just left with locations 1 and 2. And I'll close this. Okay, I don't need this anymore. So that was project 3. So I'm going to get rid of these guys. All right, so there we go. We only have locations 1 and 2 because the printouts I need for project 3 look like this. I'm going to go to the 2-sample t-test. It's going to be real simple to get these printouts too. I'm going to go to 2-sample t-test, and I want to compare. In the first question, I want to compare the mean sizes or mileages. So again, I'm working with apartments, so I'll say size. For automobiles, you put mileage. In the second printout, I want to compare the mean rents or prices. So choose both of your quantitative variables here and put your qualitative variable in as a categorical variable. Leave the not equal to, leave the 0, leave the 95%, that's fine, and hit OK. And it's going to generate actually 2 printouts. So one is going to compare the sizes or your mileages by location, or mileages by model, size by location, mileage by model. And the other one's going to compare your prices, rents by location, prices by location if you're working with the homes, or prices by model if you're working with the automobiles. And those are the 2 printouts that you're going to need to generate for me for project 4. Now I put another printout in there that you can take a look at later. But that's what you need. Those are the printouts for this semester. So you've invested 20 minutes with me. hopefully been doing the printouts as I've been going through them, and you're good to go for the semester. So make sure you save them and place them someplace safe so you can call them back later in the semester. If you have questions, office hours, good time to ask, and we'll be glad to do demonstrations and go through it with you. Good luck.